My name is Amy, and I'm going to tell you my story. It's not a story you hear every day. For a while, it was a story I couldn't understand, like the sick plot of a psychological thriller. My life was out of control. So I called a therapist. She listened to my flustered ramblings, and she calmly replied, "You have to tell your story." Tell my story? Yes, you have to put into words what happened to you. So what if I got typed as my first big audition? Theater's just something I have to do. Reach out through the shadows, your hands taking hold of mine. Touch me like my life was sunshine. Need me, can't you see how I need you? Dreaming's what I do. Show me dreams come true. I'm really getting to the showbiz crowd, and now I feel like I have mentors in this crazy business and people that I really trust, I think. The courage to heal for survivors of sexual abuse. He was a really good voice teacher. How could he do that to me? He drew me close and he swallowed me down a dark slimy path where lie secrets that I never want to know. And when everything familiar seems to disappear forever. And when everything familiar seems to disappear forever. So what happened was, I was sexually abused and I froze. That was my response. You can fight, flee, or freeze, and I completely left my body. I don't even remember anything that happened. And I actually, that story of picking up that book, that's actually a true story where I was so out of it. I was still going back for lessons, but I could tell intuitively that something was wrong. I didn't really feel like my old self. And so I happened to take out that book and happened to flip open to that page because somehow I just couldn't bring myself away from it. And as I was going through the symptoms of, I feel numb, I feel out of body, it was like a Lifetime movie moment where I'm looking at it and I'm realizing, wow, oh my God, this was me. And so from then on, it really felt like I was carrying this big secret that I didn't know what to do with. Until finally, I did tell my mom. In April of my senior year, and we were going to get therapy and all these things, and literally, 2 weeks later, my stomach exploded and all this had happened. So when I woke up from a coma, the first thing, my parents did, logically, is, they took me to a therapist because, all these things I'd want to process. But the therapist, said to my parents, listen, she can't eat, she can't drink. I'm not going to put her in a room and torture her by making her talk about her feelings. So that was all put on hold while I got medically well. And so I thought when I first could eat that, I'll be able to eat and I can be normal and life will be fine. What I didn't realize is that, food is such a human, emotional thing that all of a sudden, once I could eat, then I started having these flashbacks and all the symptoms of PTSD and remembering the abuse. And, that was when the emotional healing really had to begin. Because, I just had to survive for those, I had to get through. So really the big work was once I could eat. And then I had to go through all of the things, that getting back into my body after being so dissociated for such a long time. And of course, my 13th surgery hooked me up to eat. Obviously, you see, I got 27, so things didn't go right, and I would have to not eat for a year, and doctors would think I could turn on and off, eat, don't eat. So every time I had to just stop eating and drinking, I would just have that numbness again. So it was a lot to work through that, I'm still working through. But, performing, which is something that I've always loved since I was a kid, for me, putting this show together was really a way to kind of reframe my narrative and put sort of nonsense together in some way that made sense in my life. So I think when I premiered this show, that really was a way to keep healing more. And of course, the week after I got my last surgery, and that was a total disaster. But then I said, you know what, I'm going to do it again in another year. And we ended up doing that. And yeah. Great.
What did you eat the first time you could eat?
Yes, so I really wanted Chinese food. The doctor let me bring like one thing my first appointment. I was really craving, like I brought a little frozen waffle, but it ended up being like for the rest of that like baby food, you know, not very glamorous. But I was dreaming of Chinese food, but that took a while. I do have like 10 blocks of 8-ounce cheeses in my purse. Now it's cheese. So I have right now. What really inspired me, actually, this started as just theater at Stage 72. What I didn't realize, because the first time I premiered my show, I had never really told anyone what had happened to me from my perspective. What I didn't realize that, although what I went through was extreme, people could relate to the frustration, the anger, the uncertainty, and I realized we all have things in life that we don't expect. And how I coped and how I fostered my own resilience. Those are things that people really wanted to learn more about. So I ended up taking it to colleges as a college mental health program, because it's a very it's a time in our lives where we're not really sure how to make decisions, or what happens when the life we're planning doesn't really go as we expect. And so that program, I'm doing my show, and then I'm talking about some skills that helped me through the actual nitty-gritty of all this, not just the applause musical kind of thing. And then the third part, which I like doing, is like a panel where because there are wonderful mental health resources available on campus, we don't always know they're available. So I like doing a panel with like wellness faculty, maybe the student leader of a health group, and we plan like 3 to 5 questions beforehand, and we can answer like what are available resources on campus, what can we do to help a friend, and it's sort of a way to bring all of it full circle. It's also, I call it like sneaking kids their spinach, that they can build a program as like a musical theater program, but I'm telling my story, which doesn't go as you expect, and then we're saying mental health is something that like anyone can benefit from, and these are some resources. This is how you get it. For the sexual assault program, I do this similar thing, but I talk more about what actually happens in the freeze response. I feel like immobility and trauma is very misunderstood, especially with sexual trauma, and I feel like, and Sexual Assault Awareness Month is next month, and I feel like, prevention, bystander prevention, you really plant the seeds for a long-term prevention with PTSD education. I think it's really important that everyone understands exactly what post-traumatic stress is and how it can affect people, and that you can actually, become like frozen like animals in the wild when they're traumatized and playing dead. We have that response, but animals know how to sort of discharge that energy. They'll run off and they'll go back to normal. But humans, we re-traumatize ourselves by thinking about these things, and we become locked in that response. So I like talking about that a little bit.
Is there any significance to the red dress and red coat, or just
I like can't.
the red dress and the red coat?
I am like red. That's me. I've worn this dress since I premiered in 12. For my wedding, I had red little sequins and red sneakers, and
That's cool.
yeah, but that's my favorite question. Day after day is a war to get through. Hard to feel wonderful, hard to feel new. Struggling through my time resolutely, diverting myself from the pointless, why me? Life is long enough to sing my song. yourself. When the news is all bad, when you're sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do.